Hey, it's Vince Gallane's Catch My News Show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Keatsman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
College basketball got underway last night, and Doug Gottlieb, who I had the privilege of getting to work alongside at CBS Sports Radio back in the day, he's now doing a show on Fox Sports Radio, and he is the head coach of the Green Bay Phoenix. They were in Allen Fieldhouse last night to open up the season, taking on the number 9 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Of course, Doug played at Oklahoma State. He had moments at Allen Fieldhouse as well as a player. Now there as a coach. Doug, it's great to have you on in Kansas City on KCMO. What was that like for you last night?
It was a kind of surreal experience, you know. I mean, I've played at the Fog. I've called games at the Fog, but to be on the sideline opposite Bill Self is pretty surreal. It's pretty awesome. You know, I mean, my kids fought and competed, but, you know, a lot of stuff to kind of clean up in our first game with a brand new basketball team. But in terms of the experience of it, I mean, how can you not like playing in front of 15-3 and 6 national championship banners and coaching against one of the great coaches of all time?
So how much of that, when you're standing there on the sidelines, do you think back to your broadcasting time at Allen Fieldhouse? Do you think back to, you know, the infamous game with the shorts on backwards? I mean, what's going through your mind last night as that's going on?
None of that.
None of it. You're just locked in.
I would love to say I was processing, you know, the terrible foul call on Ryan Robertson in overtime in 1999, you know, or any of the other stuff, you know, all the highlights and things I've seen at the Fog. But the reality is, when you're coaching a game, the only thing you're trying to think of is how do we stop Darren Peterson? How do we contain Florio Badunga? You know, I mean, you're not really. I mean, I'd love to think you're talking about storylines, but storylines don't matter at all.
Yeah, and you've been on both sides of that, obviously. As a broadcaster, we're trying to think of those storylines, but when you're locked in as the coach, it's a totally different game. So you mentioned there, like Darren Peterson, some of the new faces that Bill Self has. When you look at the landscape of college basketball, I mean, a lot of fans are just trying to get into it right now, and they look at their teams, and they don't recognize anybody because of the mobility now that the players have. As someone who did it at a very high level, who covered the sport for 25 years, still does that, but also is now on the coaching side. How broken is this sport, if it is broken at all in your eyes?
I mean, look, I think we're in the transition period, to be honest with you. And we're transitioning to the compensated athlete. I mean, that's kind of where we are. So I don't necessarily think it's broken just because it's just changed. And people are going to adjust. There's early adapters. It's actually going to be a fascinating business study, like 20 years from now. You know, what did you do? How did you evolve? How did you figure it out? You know, because it's not just the compensation of student athletes. It's okay. We also have the transfer portal, which everybody blames on it. It's not the transfer portal. It's the fact that you can transfer multiple times without penalty. You know, so which doesn't really occur in contracted business landscape, right? You have non-compete clauses, as Pete, you and I know from, you know, media contracts. You can't just bounce from Fox to CBS to ESPN with no recourse once you're under contract. So it's actually kind of fascinating to be a part of, and obviously we're trying to adjust and figure it out. But you're right. I mean, it's a really hard thing. Why am I going to get up in the morning and, you know, in Shawnee Mission and drive to Lawrence when I don't know any of these guys, as opposed to previous years where, you know, Nick Collison played there every year and Kirk Heinrich, you know, played there every year, and Eric Chenoweth played there for 4 years, and kind of you go through all of the guys. So, you know, I understand the fans' lament. I've been warning people about it for years, but now it's here, and now I'm in it, and so you just adjust. And for us, I mean, again, we tackle that as well. That's why we have to do a better job of recruiting, retaining, and even getting on transfer Wisconsin kids, because that's who our fans want to see, and we have a better chance of holding on to those kids.
That's a good point.
It's the, you know, and it's one of the reasons that international kids, those floodwaters are now open. I have 2 this year. I had 3 last year. Those kids, 1, are mature. 2, they love being students, and they're not as money hungry as some American players because they have professional basketball back home they know they can always go back to. So, again, it's just, Pete, it's just a changing landscape, and we're trying to adapt to it and figure it out.
Yeah, and there's something to be said. I mean, as a Villanova guy, it was always like, well, this guy comes to Villanova because he kind of cares about the front of the jersey and the name on it, and he loves Jay Wright. And now it's like, well, is he here for a paycheck? I mean, what are the motivations? And maybe it was always that way, Doug. Maybe that's just us as fans or me as a fan and KU fans and K-State fans.
No, Pete, it wasn't.
No?
It wasn't.
Okay.
Look, were there programs that had mercenaries? Yeah. But, I mean, the Nova guys is the perfect example of it. Whether they played for the school, yeah, that's one thing, but they definitely played for the program. And when I was at Oklahoma State, we loved Oklahoma State. There's another factor in it that I don't think people have calculated. Most of these kids, ours are about 50-50, but a lot of these high major programs, the players never step foot on campus. They take online classes. And again, that's all this is post-COVID, right? And so there's no connection between student and player. Guys are there for a year. They don't ever step foot on campus. And then, now the students are supposed to show up and cheer for guys just because they read, online that they're pretty good. Like and we keep asking more and more. We wonder why there's not the attendance that there needs to be. So again, but I don't think it's broken. I just think it's in transition, and there are some fixes that will ultimately be made that can help adjust.
In the last minute, Doug Gottlieb, then what does it mean, for the mid-major story of, Cinderella, the NCAA tournament? Is that going to fall by the wayside with the player mobility and the payments as the Power 4 programs continue to potentially get more money to spend on players? Do you see the mid-major, like a Green Bay, being hurt the most potentially in all this?
I mean, it hurts us in our ability to maybe compete with the high majors. I mean, look, I don't know what Kansas's NIL budget is. My guess is, they have probably 3 or 4 million, 5 million in rev share. And then I've heard in the 5 millions in NIL. So you're talking about somewhere in the 9 to 10 million. All right. Conservatively, if you have a $9 to $10 million team, and this may not be that, they may have saved money this year. I'm not sure. But if you have a $9 to $10 million team, okay, so, you are, 20x of what we're spending. So yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. So that's why you didn't have upsets in the NCAA tournament. But, if you do it right, I think you can be very successful at your level, at the mid-major level. And again, you have to have a plan for it. For us, we believe we can be successful recruiting, retaining, especially whether it's local kids, international kids, and some junior college kids as well. And, also, it's still the same idea of college where we're, my job is to get my players a better first job. And I had a player last year who led the country in scoring, broke his ankle. And, he's 20xing his salary from last year playing at my alma mater, Oklahoma State. That's a success story for us. Even though he broke his ankle and it kind of made our season discombobulated because he's such a talented player. Like we have to, that's the job of a college anyway, right? We celebrate and he's a graduate of Green Bay. So our graduates get paid. That's our working motto. So you just, again, have to adjust that you're kind of becoming a JUCO for the big boys for some of your players.
Wow, that's a fascinating case study. There you go. Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, and, of course, the coach of Green Bay was here last night to take on KU. Doug, thank you so much for the time. I know you're crazy busy. We appreciate you being on in Kansas City.
Hey, anytime, Pete. Just call me. I'll pick up. You know that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Doug Gottlieb, good work there on KCMO Talk Radio.